48 hours. It has been exactly 48 hours since we learned that the Duchess of Thoughts, Meghan Markle, and the Duke of Cucks, Harry Markle, decided that they were going to step away from the royal family and potentially move to Canada. And already this whole thing is beginning to irritate me. And it has to do with Tim Hortons. I mean, you want to talk about foreigners coming to our country and getting free stuff. I'd rather get all the Syrian poor people in the world on welfare in this country as opposed to Tim Hortons, a company which treats its workers like trash, like dirt. I should know. I've worked for them before. Now, my store was good. My manager was good. I'm not blaming my manager or my supervisor. I'm talking about the chain itself, which locks out workers when they ask for a pay raise, which cuts back on their breaks, and then offers these two individuals who are coming to this country free coffee for life. Now, it may be... I don't care if it's a joke. I don't care if it's a joke. Now, let me... For most of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Tim Hortons is a coffee company, the largest coffee company in Canada and probably in North America, probably maybe second only to Dunkin' Donuts. And it was born in Canada. It's a company that was created in 1964. Their brand is donuts, coffee, chocolate milk, and little Timbits, which are little donut balls. That's their thing. So sometimes when you might hear me talking about Canadians, or Canucks as I like to call them when I'm pissed off at them, and I say, you Tim Hortons drinking Canucks, that's what I'm referring to, because around this time especially, every Canadian who can breathe, who can suck, is drinking on Tim Hortons coffee. And it's pretty good coffee, but they treat their workers very badly, especially nowadays. And part of it is the government to blame. Part of it is the government raising the minimum wage without giving anything back to the people who create the jobs. I agree with that. These businesses pay so much in taxes. And then when you add on a minimum wage, all that happens is that they lay off workers, they stop hiring, they put up machines, and they start treating the workers even worse than they treat them already. And so what has happened now is Tim Hortons has put on Twitter, and this is, quote, word for word, "No pressure, Meghan and Harry. But if you do choose to move to Canada, free coffee for life. Think about it." Now, this is most likely a joke, but then again, it might not be. I wouldn't be surprised if the Duchess of Thoughts herself were to walk into a Tim Hortons and the manager ordered one of these, "Hey, little boy, give this chick free coffee." I wouldn't give it to her. If I was working at Tim Hortons, I wouldn't give it to her. You could fire me. I'm not giving you free coffee. I'll give it to the homeless man on the street. And I hear sometimes, when homeless people are sleeping in the vicinity, they like to chase them. I'll give it to the homeless. I am not giving it to the Duchess of Thoughts. You can count that out. But a lot of people are upset about this now, and Canadians are getting upset. I mean, even Canadians, who are some of the most timid people on the planet, they are getting upset now. They're saying, what the hell is this? And I can read to you a news article from CTV, one of our large news agencies. It says, Tim Hortons has offered a Canadian coffee chain that offered disenchanted British royals, Prince Harry and his wife Meghan, free coffee for life if they move to Canada, has faced online backlash. The response came after Tim Hortons posted a tongue-in-cheek tweet on Wednesday saying, "No pressure." I already read it. The offer proved hard to swallow for Canadians upset by the chain's labor relations practices. Canadian media reported that a branch of Tim Hortons in Winnipeg in Manitoba, the capital of the Canadian province of Manitoba, recently locked out unionized workers who were asking for a pay raise. In a shock announcement on Wednesday, Harry and Meghan said they will step back as senior members of the royal family and spend more time in North America, where Meghan lived for several years. One Twitter user observed that the royals can afford to buy the company. Your employees can't afford the rent. And, rent is a big problem in this part of the world. Toronto and Vancouver and Montreal, $14 an hour is not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. I've always said if you're going to raise the minimum wage, first of all, you have to get rid of the taxes on businesses. Give them something to fall back on. And then I've always said this. Businesses shouldn't pay any tax. The money that they give to the government should go back to their workers in the form of health insurance. So that means pharmacare, and the government wouldn't have to give pharmacare out. It also means minimum wage hike with it being linked to inflation, because when you raise the minimum wage, inflation goes up. So then these businesses, when you raise the minimum wage, they won't raise their prices as well, because they know if inflation goes up, the minimum wage will also go up. So, and also, paying for education and all that stuff. That's where the money should go, not the government. It's in this globalized economy, finding a job as a young person is very difficult. So when you get these little Tim Hortons jobs and these little coffee pouring jobs and these little donut making jobs, and you ask for a little bit of a pay increase, especially after the company cuts break times for employees on minimum wage. And not only that, but make sure that the breaks aren't paid anymore. When any psychologist or scientist or human brain analyst will tell you that employees who take regular breaks are much better productive. They're more productive. It's better for the company. That's why people say that paid breaks are necessary. Because breaks don't just benefit the worker, they benefit the company as well. Because if I'm working and I don't take a break, guess what? I'm not going to be as good a worker. I'll be calling off, I'll be doing all sorts of stuff, I'll be sitting on my ass, I won't be working as hard because I'll be exhausted. I'm a human. So when a company now does that to its workers and then offers these two foreigners free coffee for life, these foreigners, that's what they are. They're nothing more than foreigners. I don't care if his grandmother is the queen of this country. I don't recognize her. She's a foreigner too. The only people who recognize her are white, anglicized Canadians. The francophones don't recognize her. The natives don't recognize her. People like me who are Canadians through and through, born in this country, raised in this country, I don't recognize no blasted queen. She's a foreigner, and her grandson is a foreigner, and his baby mama's a foreigner. And they don't deserve to be getting free coffee from this company when they treat my people like dirt. An observer in Quebec commented, the company that cuts break times for employees on minimum wage, cuts the paid breaks, and offers free coffees for members of the royal family, something is wrong with this country. No pressure, Tim Hortons, but you'll stop losing customers if you use that money for free lifetime coffee for Meghan and Harry to stop nickel and diming your employees into strike over 10 cents an hour, said Twitter user with the handle Ooh Canada, and I agree with him. I agree with him 100%. So that's the news on the latest on Meghan and Harry. They're already irritating me with this move to Canada. I don't welcome them here. I will never welcome them here. Justin, the tacky-headed, tar-faced, swift-foot, two-faced Mac Daddy who's now grown a beard, he can welcome them all he wants. I don't recognize him either. So as far as I'm concerned, this country's just a boatload of illegitimacy. I don't recognize the Queen, I don't recognize the Prime Minister, and I don't recognize these two. They're foreigners here. And if they want to move here, they should pay their way like everyone else. And I hope that we're not going to start using our taxpayer dollars to pay for their security. Because that seems like that's the way this ship is headed right now. It looks like we Canucks are going to have to pay for their security. If they want to live here, they need to pay for their own security. That's what I say. Now I'm hearing that Prince Harry Markle and Meghan, the Duchess of Thoughts Markle, may just become the new Governor General and Vice Regal Consort of Canada. And for those of you who don't know, because Canada is in the Commonwealth and it's not a Commonwealth Republic, we still have the Queen as our head of state, which is a load of trash. Of course, the Queen needs somebody to take her place when she's not in the country. And that's why Canada, Australia, Jamaica, Belize, some of those other Caribbean islands, New Zealand, they have governor generals. And they are basically the viceroys. They take the place of the Queen when she's not here. And it looks like Prince Harry Markle may just be appointed governor general and sit at Rideau Hall in Ottawa pretending to be king of this country. And if that happens, I can tell you, this thing is really going to get out of control. I will start protesting. I'll start organizing protests. The last thing I want is another foreigner. It's bad enough that we have the Queen as our head of state. But I don't want to go back to the days when foreigners were shipped to Canada, like the Duke and Duchess of Argyll, shipped to Canada. These are the ninth, eighth, some illegitimate child of Queen Victoria or Queen Elizabeth, some child, some spare, ship them over to Canada and make them become our viceroy. No, if we're going to have a viceroy, I want a Canadian to be the viceroy. I don't want some foreigner shipped in from the British aristocracy or monarchy, shipped in like Princess Louise and John Campbell of Scotland, children of Queen Victoria, coming in here to Canada, or what's the other one? The brother of Queen Mary coming in here. Just ship them out. Ship the extra nobody knows monarch to Canada and make them be our viceroy. I don't want that. I don't want that. You must be out of your damn mind. This is the 2020s. None of them should be. We shouldn't have a viceroy, but if we're going to have one, I'd rather have a Canadian one. But anyway, I knew this thing was going to irritate me. But don't you worry. I will continue to keep a bird's eye view on Harry Markle and the Duchess of Thoughts, Meghan Markle. If they think England is bad, they ain't seen nothing yet until they come across the Arana Nation.